Hello, welcome to Marriage Loose in the Noose. This is Randy Cross, and beside me is my lovely wife, Tasha Cross. We're starting a video about life experiences and situations pertaining relationships. Um, we're going to go into a hypothetical question first to just kind of get things started. Get the blood flow going a little bit. Did you want?
All right. Blood flow going. All right. The hypothetical question is, what would you do if I was a zombie?
Well, first of all, I think I would have to determine at what stage of zombie were you in? Were you like, did you just become a zombie? Or were you like already a zombie trying to come after me? Like, there are a bunch of scenarios or situations that will determine what I would do with my lovely wife as she became a zombie. Um,
Okay.
can I finish?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So, what I would do is because I love her so much, I would try to save her, capture her, chain her up somewhere, feed her other people human parts until I could figure out a cure. So, the rest of you who are alive, sorry for you. Your lunch, dinner, and/or breakfast. But I would try to save you until I could no longer um, find a cure or understand that you couldn't be saved, and then double tap,
What is double
two
tap?
to the head.
All right. So if you were a zombie, I would kill you right away. There is no capturing. There is no trying to save. This is the thing. You're not the same. You jacked up. You trying to eat me. Why would I try to keep you and then you eat me or you bite me and then I get jacked up? It's too much work. And I'm not feeding you nobody's body parts. So you out the gate, you gone. And then I cry and I will pray, but I'm not keeping you around. I'm just not.
Where's the love?
That is love. Love is putting you out your misery.
This video gonna be short. All right, all right. So much for the hypothetical.
Right, hypothetical. Okay, so what we are going to talk about today is apologizing. So we looked up the word apologize in Webster's dictionary, and it says to acknowledge and express regret for a fault or a wrong, etc. All right, so what do you feel about the importance of apologizing?
I think the first thing that needs to be understood is the fact that you have to acknowledge that you've made a mistake, that you've done something wrong in a relationship or, pertaining to your significant other, and then what that wrong was. Because if you don't understand the fault in the situation, then how can you even move forward or begin to address or resolve the issue? So I think acknowledging that you've made a mistake, that there's an issue at hand that needs to be resolved, is the most important thing, or very critical to being able to move through a situation.
Yep, I agree. And I think it's important to apologize, even if you don't think you're at fault. I think sometimes we may feel like, well, because it didn't offend me, because it's not a problem to me, because I don't feel like it's an issue for me, I shouldn't have to apologize to you. That's your thing, that's your issue. You got to hang up. You need to learn how to get over it. And that's not fair. Actually, what you need to do is you need to be sensitive to your spouse or your significant others concerns, offenses, whatever may be going on with them. And you need to understand that. And then if you do something that you may not feel you're at fault for, you still should apologize because it did impact your significant other negatively and it still came from you. So I think it's important for the health of your relationship because if you're not apologizing, then anger can build up, right, over time. This happened, he didn't apologize, and now this happened, he still ain't apologized. So now I got a funky attitude. You do something else, I'm really on fire. So I think it's about kind of like washing the slate clean, so there's
Right.
not a buildup.
And just to elaborate a little bit more on what you just said, I think that's exactly what I was trying to say as far as acknowledging. Sometimes we don't feel like we did something wrong, or to us, what what our actions or behaviors that we exhibited to someone else might seem minute or very minor to us. Like it would not offend us personally
Right.
if someone behaved or showed us that type of action or behavior, but that doesn't mean that there's still not something there that needs to be apologized about, especially if it's offended or hurt the person that you care about and you have a relationship with, and you want to continue to have a relationship with that person and or build on it. So um, definitely, I think sometimes you just, even if you don't understand why the person is offended or affected by your actions or behavior,
Mhm.
that it's still important to understand that it still might be required or needed for you to apologize for your actions or behaviors to be able to move forward and keep that clean slate, so you're not building a mound of mess one on top of the other
Mhm.
when you continue to go through life, and you're going to have situations where you're going to have hiccups, and you're going to have to address and resolve and work through situations to continue to have a relationship with one another.
Right. So what about timing on apologizing?
So I think timing is critical, but there's no real guideline to it. I mean, I think each relationship, each person is different. I think you have to understand what works for you and your spouse. Meaning, um, I'm not one that wants to address an issue immediately after it happens. For example, I need time to be able to think about it, cool down, not be in that agitated or excited state where I'm more on what I'm thinking about and not in a mindset and having an ear to listen. So I definitely think that's critical.
Yeah, and that's something I had to learn about you because I'm one of those people where I'm like, this is the issue. Let's talk about it right now. Let's talk about it right now. I want to talk about it right now. I want to solve it right now. I want to address it right now. And when you're learning about your spouse, you can't always get what you want and the timing that you want. Like you said, you have to understand like what's the best timing because it's not beneficial if I'm pushing and pushing. I want it to be done right now, and then there's a further explosion, which means it's something else that I have to be apologized for
Right,
because I couldn't take the time out to give you the room to really release or, like you said, think through it or process it
right.
because I'm like, I want to have a conversation right now. So it's about balancing it out.
But I also think, with that being said, the person who needs the additional time or maybe needs some space to be able to get to a place to be able to have the conversation, don't become too complacent or wait too long to have the conversation. A lot of times I find myself getting to a place where I'll not feel as emotional or feel the way that I initially felt about the situation. And so then it's not as bothersome to me. So I might not 2 days from now, when I should have had the conversation the next day or a little bit later that day pertaining to a situation that happened that I didn't like, if I don't have that conversation in a timely fashion, then I'll just want to move on.
Mhm.
It doesn't even really need to be a conversation had until something else happens,
Mhm.
and then all of it comes back up, and it's like you should have addressed it then when you initially had the opportunity and it was fresh in everyone's mind and it just happened, and you could have resolved it without a bunch of extra things being implemented in the situation.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, if you don't address the issue, to your point, when something else comes up, then it's like what happened before and what happened before that and what happened before that. It's like all this stuff brought up. Well, you ain't do this and you ain't do that, and remember when you did this, and it's like you pulling out stuff from 1962, and it's like you got to close that stuff down so it's not constantly being drugged through every conversation.
Right.
So there, apologizing helps bring closure so that you can be done with that specific area,
Right.
hopefully. But if it's a reoccurring thing, then we just have to understand it does take time, right? Like
Right.
we can't expect for people to change like right then and there. Like you did it once, don't ever do it again. It just takes time. So there has to be some patience associated with it, but it should be less frequent. And the frequency in which it happens should be, greater distances. It shouldn't just be all the time. Every time I turn around, it's the same thing.
Right.
We should be striving to do better and to get better, but we also need to give each other some grace in that process of trying to get to that a place where we're not apologizing over and over again for the same exact type of behaviors.
Right.
So, what about willingness to listen? So let's say like you're coming to apologize to me. What mindset do you want me in when you're coming to apologize to me?
Um, that's a good question. I just think when you come together to have a conversation about an issue in your relationship, both of you have to be in a place where you're just willing to listen. Like you have to be able to take your emotions and put them to the side and just listen to what's being said to you. Not really trying to be adamant or aggressive in what you're trying to get across, the point you're trying to get your significant other to understand. But having an ear to listen and really hear what's being said to you might answer the questions or the issues that you have at hand. If you can just listen to the information that's being given to you. A lot of times when we go to have a conversation about an issue that we have, our goal is to get our point across and to get that person to understand why we feel the way we feel, and that's it. But if we just go into the conversation with an open ear and an open heart, truly looking and seeking understanding and clarity, then, like I said, a lot of times the situation can resolve itself by communicating in that fashion and really understanding what the true issue is at hand. Because even though I might say, I'm mad that you didn't answer your phone when I called you, it could have been something else. But that is what triggered the emotion for me to say what I had been feeling about something that might have happened right before then. So it's really important to be able to listen to what's being said and then try to understand and then give your response without being, not to say to take emotion completely out of the situation, because we all are emotional creatures. So to think that you can take it out completely is is unreasonable. But to be able to try to suppress or minimize the amount of emotion involved until you can really understand what's being said and then understanding what you want to accomplish. If the goal is to be together and to have a healthy, happy relationship, then we have to work with one another and listen to one another to be able to get to and through any situation that you come about and you experience in your journey with each other in life.
Right. And I think as far as approach, like, one of the things that I know I used to do because I would be so angry. It's like if you coming to apologize to me, yep, you should be apologizing. Yep, you better, you know what I mean? And if you have an attitude when someone's trying to approach you to apologize, it makes it so much harder for that person to have the conversation with you because it's already hard to come and apologize because one, you don't want to make those type of mistakes. And then you like, dang, man, I messed up. So now I got to go talk to him. And if you in a posture where you like, yep, you was wrong, come on with it, right? And I'm gonna like ream you in the midst of you apologizing. No one wants to go into that. So you have to be mindful of your posture and your position. And then sometimes you have to take breaks. You may not be able to have the conversation all at once, especially like you're saying with your emotions, especially if the emotion levels start getting high,
Absolutely.
somebody has to say, okay, time
Let's
out,
push pause. Yeah.
pause, we're gonna have to come back. And no, I don't want to have 4 conversations about the same apology,
Right.
but if we have to, because that's the best way for us to get through it, we have to piecemeal it, then that's what's
That's
best
what you
at that
do.
moment. You just have to
Absolutely.
right size it for the situation. And then it may be a conversation on why are you so emotional, right? And it may be more like, let's talk about the hurt, right? Or maybe I just need to apologize for just the hurt, right? Immediately before we even talk any further layers.
Right.
So you have to be open and honest. Like, I can't even listen to you right now because of this. So can you apologize for this specifically? Can you say this way specifically so we can get past? So you just have to be able to have an open conversation. But if it's too emotional, you definitely have to stop.
Right.
So, but I was gonna apologize to you for saying I was gonna kill you for being a zombie, but I'm not because I actually meant it.
Oh, okay, that's fine. And I'm not going to apologize for wanting to double tap you. I don't have a choice.
All right, so that was our clip on apologizing. We'll be back with more topics that we can talk through. If you have any questions, send them my way. Um, I'll be on Facebook under Tasha Cross, and then hopefully Randy will be getting a Facebook page soon, or maybe we'll just make one
We'll
for our
get one
marriage.
together.
Marriage, loosen the noose.
Loosening news.
All right, y'all. Peace.